Oh my God, the day today has been so fast, but with great conversations and great knowledge. But now we are in this session, and yes, you are in the right place. The Fireside chat session that will help you to make connections, and the proper connections, by the way, with the title of our virtual summit, Building Back Stronger. My name is Gil-Garcia, and I will be your moderator for this afternoon. I'm the Vice Chair of the Education Committee, LULAC National. This session will validate some words that we heard this morning from our Assistant Secretary, Roberto Rodriguez, and he said, we don't have to go back to the same. Yes, COVID brought human and social devastation, we know that, but it also helped us tell stories of inequities at all levels that we have knew before, but they were confirmed. But the pandemic also introduced opportunities for change, opportunities for innovation, opportunities for technology integration, Latina business empowerment. Overall, the pandemic forced us to work together, to join efforts, to solidify partnerships and collaborations. We are here today to learn how LULAC prevailed from traditionalism to innovation and renewal. I would like to start by asking our committee members today, and I'm really very excited about, because I know my LULAC family, and definitely I'm very glad to be, moderating, people that I know for so long that has been so dedicated to their communities, that are experts in their fields. And I really think that I will not be the one introducing you. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself as you start responding the questions, the first question for today. But let's do some housekeeping before, and please write questions in the chat, okay? So, and at the end, I will be forwarding those questions to each of the members, each committee member that you would like to speak to. Okay, so let's start with our first question. And I think I'm going to start with Leonard. Leonard, we talk about LULAC and we talk about, LULAC for so many years, more than 90 years. And I think that this incredible civil rights organization has expanded in those 90 years, in many directions. But the committees really have prevailed. What is the value of LULAC committees?
Great question. And I think the value of the committees for LULAC at large, and even historically, has been the action-oriented and advocacy engagement that they provide. If you take a look at the structure of LULAC, you have a governing body, so you have the governance piece. You have the national staff, which is the operational piece, if you will. But the advocacy, while some is done by the national office, the advocacy in the areas that we're engaged in as committees really go to the action, the leadership, the members that are appointed through those committees. So we make things happen, and that's indeed what they're intended to do by the National Constitution and by the President and the National Board of Directors.
Leonard, could you please tell us and the rest of the audience, what is your committee?
Okay, so I'm the vice chair of the National Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, and we're involved in a number of different areas, including repatriating our deported veterans, the legislative efforts that we're engaged in now with the Save Our Service members, specifically the Vanessa Guillen Act, improving military justice, the Brandon Act. Right now, we're very strongly pushing because it hasn't made it out of the Senate into the National Defense Authorization Act. We're doing other things in the Department of Defense to increase Latino and Latina leadership at the highest grades, both on the military and civil service side. We're engaged actively in the base renaming efforts to try to make sure that we have Roy Benavidez honored at Fort Hood and General Richard Cavazos at Fort Bragg, or interchangeably, either direction, but we need representation. We need to have our heroes' pictures on the walls
Right.
So because we have so many Latinos and Latinas that are in the military, we ought to be able to see a reflection of the leaders and heroes that have served, that have come before them. That's a source of pride and engagement. So those are things we're doing.
Thank you so much, Leonard. It's really, the incredible work that your committee does. But let's move forward. And, my partner in crime, Carolina Sanchez Crozier, an incredible human being, definitely a businesswoman, definitely, somebody who has opened many doors for many people, not only at the local level, but at the national level. And it's my great pleasure really to work with her. Caroline, let's talk about the evolution of committees in LULAC. You've been a LULAC member for years and years, but I know that you look so young, Caroline, so don't worry about that. But the audience really would be very interested in learning on committees, how committees can evolve to support LULAC's mission and community needs.
Thank you for the introduction, amiga. We go way back, and half my life with LULAC and with you as well. So, and we keep taking away, keep at it, right? The fight never stops. So, okay, the committees are really important, and I've learned this since being appointed by the LULAC national president. So we are presidential appointments, and I'm very elated to say that today is a new day in the bringing together multiple committees. We have 4 committees represented. We all come from different walks of life with expertise in our own areas, our own passion and dedication. So that's what we bring to the LULAC. So we know that LULAC has a 9-year history. We know there's a staff, there's the board, but our appointments are so important in that we come from different walks of life. We represent different regions, different states, and even Puerto Rico. And we not only bring our own time and dedication, which in my years has been amazing over the 30-some years, but also we bring our expertise, our connections, our relationships, and all of that makes up LULAC. So the committees really enhance, multiple notches what the resources that LULAC brings to the table. And so we really are out there in the trenches, but we're also in the leadership for policy. So we really are at all those different levels. At the state level with policy, you and I would do testimonies in front of the State Board of Education. We speak with congressmen. We do whatever it takes. We go do marches. What's unique today is that the committees are elevating this conversation. And with this new committee that was just formed 2 months ago in 90 years, is really the disruptor and entrepreneur that I am. It's like, okay, education is so broad, and we need to, that's our mission, and it has been for day one. The new environment, the pandemic, the digital space that we're living, we need to be intentional to address this as a civil right. So our committee now, Innovation and Technology Committee, is me as the chair, and Letty is my great partner and vice chair, is to really elevate the conversation that started with the Education Committee, that now you will be, Luisa will be speaking, but it needed to have its own home and its own focus. And so that's what these committees do. We elevate the conversation, we bring up the new issues that are at hand, and the digital equity is one that is there for us to really begin this movement and work collaboratively.
Thank you, Caroline. Just for clarification, Caroline is the chair of the National Innovation and Technology Committee. So that's one of our brand new, as she mentioned, committees in LULAC. And she with Letty are leading this amazing conference that you are attending today. So thank you, Caroline. I like to move into Luis Chavez. My God, Luis, you have a history in LULAC, definitely. And, your expertise, a great friend, by the way, a person that we can rely at 100%. And, but Luis could be a person that will teach you without knowing that you are being taught. Okay, so I want you to know that. Luis, let's talk about being together. Let's talk about, to be stronger, we have to work together, right? Yeah. How partnerships and collaboration support the National Education Committee work the national innovation and technology work, the military, and all the Leonard's work and other committees work. How this working together will work.
Thank you, Ana. That's wonderful to have you introduce us and to moderate this session. It's so appropriate and nice. And so thank you. And also because you're the vice chair for the education committee that we both are leading now. So I'll talk a little bit about that maybe afterwards, but just to address your question, I think, and by the way, you're going to see me drinking a lot of coffee because I haven't gotten much sleep this week. We're in California time, so it's a little earlier here, but I really am pleased to join this panel and join all of you, and especially my, if I can say this, my Chingona committee members and leaders here. I think in this moment of disruption, crisis, hardship, I know it's hard. Everyone's talked about what's happened to us as an environment, our society, our communities. It's hard not to address, that. And so I always think about people that have been hard hit, our communities, our families. I just came back from celebration of life recently for a friend of 40 plus years. My high school buddy, lifelong friend, passed away from COVID last year, and we weren't able to celebrate until recently. So the devastation is real. And at the same time, I think, as advocates, change agents, we could only do so much. I think we're all called to service, and take this moment to say thank you to Leonard for his service that he gives, but not just as a military person. He serves LULAC, he serves this community. The thing is that most of us do things that aren't known by others in the larger community, and we know it because we talk and we share. This is work that sometimes goes unrecognized, and that's okay, because in the long run, it's about the comunidad and las familias and the students getting where they need to get, because we all went through it. I certainly did myself. And so I do it because I know it'll make a difference. And we just have to buckle down now in this environment that we're in. And I don't want to get political, but I am a anti-mask person when it comes to racism and discrimination and not having access to broadband internet access. What COVID has done is unmasked the racist, systemic, deep issues that we have in this country. And so let's rip off that mask. Let's be unapologetic. Let's be, unrelenting in focusing this focus on change. And I know all of you, I learned from Letty about speaking your truth, speaking your voice. And I think it's so important that we follow that. There is no more time. I don't think it's a time for us to work on just being being in harmony. This is a war that's happening in terms of war on disinformation. So that's why when we had earlier, we brought a faculty esteemed colleague to share data, evidence, and then another panelist on another session shared using data and evidence to make your case. So we can't shy away from it. I'm not a researcher, but I've been digging into the data. We have to know the numbers, and we have to know what's happening in our community. So all that's to say that we do bring our own individual expertise, but we can't do it alone. We have to do this in community. We have to do this in partnership and collaboration. And that's one of the things that I love about this work with LULAC, is that I'm starting to feel like we're moving in that direction more strongly than ever. I in a retreat with LULAC board recently, we starting to do some work around getting ready for the 100th. Can you believe this? 100 years of LULAC.
I know, we have to be ready for that.
Amazing.
Right?
So I'm excited about what's possible, and the 4 committees, as Caroline said, that is represented just in this small group that we're representing here. I think this is a dawn of a new day, borrowing from Letty, that we do need to tackle the issues. Together, we're stronger. Together, we'll come back even stronger and tackle all of these issues. So I'm excited about the work with all of you and with our communities that will be beneficiaries of our efforts.
Thank you, Luis. You know, we can really feel the passion coming from those words, right? So thank you. And I'm going to move with, you know, my dear futuristic, innovative friend, Letty Velez. Letty, you know, I believe that the pandemic left behind those who did not want to see the future with different lenses.
Mhm.
And what is the role of our LULAC committees in the future of LULAC?
Oh my God. And Anna, you're doing an amazing job pulling great stuff out of everybody. Thank you for taking.
I'm taking the best of you because I know that who you are. You know, you're a powerful Latina. So,
You know, I'm driven as a Latina, born in Chicago. Familia was born on La Isla, Puerto Rico. But I've learned so much, as they say, on the mainland, right? Over the years, and I've seen so many disparities, pero siendo que yo era la más chiquita, I was a baby of 4. I always fought to be noticed, to be heard, to make a difference. And so that's what's happening here. You know, I'm really grateful for Caroline, you know, us meeting and really building relationship last year, and then her pulling me by my hair to get involved. Por las greñas, right? And saying, you got to help here, right? And then meeting Luis and you, Ana, I mean, just like at first not knowing what this was, and then just like sitting there learning. But if we don't look at the future, and that future is a big freaking number, I think it's 28.4% or something that we will be by 2045 of the United States population. Like, hello, you can't tell anybody the Latinos aren't growing. We're growing. We'll be one of the largest, you know, demographics. And if we don't look at the future and we don't prepare and do things today that will affect how are we educated, how are we professionally getting access, you know, and you look at this conference, if I could jump on that for a minute, this summit today, you know, we were all so passionate and driven that we would get the best and highest caliber of people to the table to speak. And with a lot of prayers and a lot of work and commitment and long freaking hours that Caroline just drove us like to the ground. But we did it.
With a lot of coffee from.
Mucho café. No tequila, café. So, you know, to see what we achieved today, Associate Administrator Bibi Hidalgo said, you know, we need you guys to hold us accountable. She, a Latina in the SBA, federal government, right? And then she shared a little bit about her history as a Latina entrepreneur with her brother. And it was like all these great stories. And I was just like, oh my God. And I'm getting to meet her. And then looking at building a relationship there, right? Because what is the goal? The goal is to bring access for Latino and Latino entrepreneurs, bring access on whether it's broadband, technology, education. But I said to her and to Joe Wall from Goldman Sachs, this is why we put this together. Because we're opening our voices and our mouths, and we're coming with data, with knowledge, with proof of who we are in the country to our economic engine and the impact to the GDP. If we do not move with intent and fire in the belly, if we do not find other like-minded, incredible, what I call beastesses, everybody here, you know, it's hard when you're doing it alone on this little island by yourself. So I just want to say that together, we all have different future vision, but together we can build so much stronger and so much elevated opportunity to impact legacies.
Thank you so much, Letty. Definitely, I will take those words, you know, for the future. But this conversation has been so wonderful, but I really like to I'm going to ask only one question, and then we can open and we can exchange ideas because I think that we are dying for doing that, which is good. So, you know, there's been a lot of teaching and learning today. But I like to know from you, what do you feel or think is the greatest opportunity and challenge to be a successful functional committee member in LULAC? You know, there are many people out there who are watching us and they are saying, how is that I can participate? I'm really excited about, you know, participating, but how can I do that? You know, who to contact? What is that I can do? So, how do you feel about is going to be our greatest opportunity and challenge, just to be a very, very successful committees in LULAC, in the future of LULAC? Caroline, I know that you have your hand.
Yes, of course.
Go ahead.
Well, I can say there's a lot of pockets of excitement and movement going on across the country. But I think the opportunity we have as a committee in LULAC's 90 years history is help wake up that what we're known as a sleeping giant. Enough of that. Our voices have to be elevated. Our representation at the table in every aspect, of corporate, government, education, at school boards, elementary, high school, everywhere. So to wake up the sleeping giant, because we have the talent, we have the power, we have those values that are so well, solid foundation that we have our family and in supporting our communities. And we do need to raise those voices to be at the table. So enough of the sleeping giant, wake up, and that's our opportunity to wake up and be noticed and take action and get the next generation ready and out there for them to be the future leaders, not only for our community, for our country, quite frankly.
Thank you. Luis?
Yeah, thank you. I also want to just echo a little bit of that this is an opportunity. I think I mentioned the moment that we're all faced with. And in particular, now being in the position that Caroline started off, and then I assumed with the board approval and the president's support as chair for the education committee, I feel a tremendous responsibility with that. And so I am interested in setting the stage for a new beginning because of the work that Caroline laid out, and Letty and you, Ana, and talking with Leonard about what they're doing in their committee. And we have other new committees also. So I'm really working with you, Ana, very closely as vice chair to really take a breath, take a moment, a pause. We're entering the holiday seasons coming up, and being grateful and thankful for what we the privileges that we do have and the abilities that we have. I certainly have many and certainly have challenges at home as well, but taking the moment to say, okay, so this is what we've done, and LULAC and positioning obviously 100 years almost of the great work. But now, given the challenges that are in front of us, what do we need to retool or rethink? How is it that we're positioning ourselves and our committee work? And I appreciate Leonard's words about the history of the committees. But now that I've been involved a little bit more at some of the national meetings and working with leadership as they've requested, and I've said yes to helping out with certain things, I'm really seeing a need to help elevate and highlight the work that happens locally. Because now that I've peeked in a little window to a little bit of what now I can see what's happening across the country, there is so much gold and gems and things that are happening in parts all over the country that LULAC members in a small council or in a district or in a whole state, Professor Alicia Pagan, who's on many of our Zooms throughout the day today, is actively, networking and pulling in and saying, I want to talk with you, please call me. So, I mean, there's so many of that replicated across the country, and somehow on the education piece of it, I want to stay focused on my area of the education, is really reconnecting state, district, council with the work nationally. And in some ways, that I believe will make us stronger, because as committee and volunteer members, we could only do so much. We need the local, we need the state, and we need the national office. We're all working in partnership. This day as a summit would not have been possible without the national team being involved, without all of you being involved, without people saying yes. And it's because LULAC has a national history and reputation. The White House answers when you come to them with the name LULAC. Right. And so I think this is the moment that we need to rethink. I've already signaled to the education committee members that that are still with us to get ready, because we're going to retool, rethink, redesign, and build back better.
Right, right. Thank you, Luis. Yeah, and I like to add something, Luis, to your, because LULAC probably is the uniqueness of LULAC is that everybody that is a member of LULAC is started from zero, right? So that makes us unique. It's not that you started on the top of LULAC. You just come as, being in the council, being, members of the grassroots places and organizations, and then you start going up and up and up. And that's supposed to be that way. So we really target the community first. We work with the community, and then it's through the communities that we know about LULAC. And that's the beauty of this organization. So, but I'm going to ask Letty, any word for this conversation?
Yeah, well, first, and thank you. I love all the opinions, right? Leonard, I want to thank you for your service. Totally appreciate and love all the veterans out there. I'm a veteran mom. I'm very vocal about it. I even had myself made a little bedazzle, my little tag, right, with my son's name. But I wanted to say that we have to look at this opportunity with LULAC and these committees as an opportunity to have a voice, to make a difference, to engage. And don't come in, if I can make a request with judgment, come in with an excitement of how I can help, how I can support, what can I learn, what can I share of what I know, so that this committee or any of these committees or the people can grow, because it takes a village, and our village is growing, but we need people that are coming in that saying, okay, I'm gonna roll up the sleeves and I'm in, right? And I heard this a while back, and I really love this term that I want people to think about. There's two kinds of leaders in life. There's a leader of leaders and a leader of followers. The difference is, I'm a leader of leaders. A leader of leaders helps the leader, grow whatever they're trying to do, and then push them out, like the pajaritos, like the little birds. And then a leader of followers needs to be needed. We have to make sure that we're being leader of leaders, and that we're developing at home, in our local community, the youth, the little babies, like the chiquitos, start teaching them about entrepreneurship or technology and STEM, all these amazing things we can do. But we have to step it up, and we have to be proud that as Latinos, we have done outstanding and amazing things in this country and on the isla in Puerto Rico that need to be recognized. And we just need to be vocal. You know what? One thing I love about Morenos, boy, they have mastered that. We need to do the same. Let's share, let's be vocal, and then you can't interrupt data.
Yeah, thank you, Letty. That's true. I will go with you 100%. Leonard, your perspective in this question, what do you feel or think is the greatest opportunity and challenge to be a successful committee in LULAC?
Sure. So I 100% agree with everything everyone else has said. I've also been working with Luis on the strategic planning piece for National LULAC at large. And so I sort of take a little different tack in answering the question. I think it goes to the opportunities and the challenge, I think, are almost the same thing from my view. And it has to do with messaging, and it has to do with communication, right? So there's the opportunity. And this is one of those opportunities we're realizing as we're sitting here right now having this discussion, is getting the message out, communicating the message, as Luis has pointed out, to the regions, the states, the districts, all the way down to the council, creating that energy, creating an opportunity to build a synergy. But all of that excitement and strength that's out there, we need to do a better job of messaging and strategic communication in that way. And then I would flip it around and say, we need to be open to the communication coming from the bottom up, right? So we need to be actually seeking the interests and opportunities that the local, the district, the states see, and feed that back up into the communities. So we need to be building a broad base of priorities for the committees. And then in terms of the committees, we need to be collaborating like we're doing right now and involving the other committees. Because I would say if we were just drawing concentric circles and we would see where the overlaps were amongst the committees, we're going to find a sweet spot in there somewhere, right? It's there. We haven't done it yet. That's another kind of a strategy approach. But if we do that, then I think we can also, be stronger together. And I think that's one of the interests that we have here. So anyway, my thoughts.
Thank you so much. We have still some time for this panel before we're going to open for questions at 2 o'clock. Remember, we have this session until 2:15. So I'd like to hear from my committee colleagues. What is next in your committee work? Is there any project in particular that you would like to talk about, that you would like to highlight before we open? It's very quick. I know that you have tons of projects. So, but please, if you have to highlight one, just let us know, which one is that?
Okay, I'll start with mine because we actually had a session today on this, and the collaboration between Illinois, between Puerto Rico, and we added people from New York, is a movement for computer science to build that pipeline from the bottom. We hear too many times that we can't find talent as Latino. We don't hire them for that reason. They're not on boards. They're not on leadership positions. So we really, with our history in education and with Luis and in our own history, we have to start with computer science education from the bottom up, and we have to work with educators. So what we're doing is we're creating a movement for CS for Latinos, CS for Latinx is what we're doing. And we ask all of you to join us. And that means whether you have children that can learn more about what those computer science is and it isn't. It's not just consuming technology, it's creating technology, being a creator of apps and all kinds of being active in the IT space with like my company, CSC Consulting Group, being in the tech force, and we're working in partnership with Cisco. So right now the CS movement is being in states, in policies, so there's computer science standards, they're equitable, they include English learners, they include cultural responsive content as we launch them, PD for teachers, particularly Latinx teachers, that's one, and then the tech workforce, building tech credentials, such as Cisco, Microsoft, Amazon. There's a lot of offerings out there, and our committee is looking to be engaged in those conversations and participate and bring partners to bring more resources. So those are the two things that I'm looking to do. And my partner in crime in this new committee, Letty, is on the entrepreneurship, on the small business, on the community wealth, access to capital. So I'll let her speak to that one. But between the two of us, we've got lots happening, and we welcome everyone to join us in this movement.
Well, then, you just provided the perfect pathway, to Letty, because, you are both in the same committee. Okay, Letty.
Thank you. So thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Ana. So we created something, Caroline and I co-founded Latina Entrepreneurs Now. My background, so you guys should all know, is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I used to own a bus company in Chicago, did some amazing things. And now I'm a consultant helping businesses get the knowledge and the access that they want. And I'm a beast at what I do. I love it. And one of my biggest drivers is access to capital, and not thinking traditional lending. I think about non-traditional lenders. And during the pandemic, I went and learned and mastered the funding and was able to help so many minority-owned businesses. Even though my heart and soul wanted a gazillion Latinos, they weren't flowing in. But we have to change that. We have to change that because Latinos, we are so stuck on trust and who to trust and who to believe. And I think what Latinos also have to learn is go do some research on people and their backgrounds so you could see the historical journey, right? So with Latina Entrepreneurs Now, our mission and goal is to have, monthly webinars and having different speakers and information that we're sharing. Our goal is to have a future cohort of learning. I'm so obsessed with this. I was talking about it earlier in a panel. And then I talked about it on the Dawn panel with the SBA and Goldman Sachs. And I think if we could just realize there are people like us that are committed to you and your vision and goal. What is your dream? What do you want? Let people know, and then just keep praying and then step in and jump in to get involved. Caroline will tell you guys, I do a lot by myself, and it's because sometimes I don't like to ask people, can you help? Even though I get obsessive with things, but we need the help. Latinas are the fastest growing in the country. I'll say this real quick. There was a white paper report in 2019. It reflected 2.3 million Latina entrepreneurs. but the average revenue was 51,000 a year. Blew my mind. We're the fastest growing in the country of women businesses, and this is where we're at. And I want to help change that. I want to triple that number in a 1-year timeline and affect that GDP like a beast. So help us. We're doing
I know that you will do that, Letty. Leonard, tell us about, one project that you have in your committee that you're working on, or that's something that you're going to be implementing soon, or something that you're thinking about, that will be an asset for your committee.
So a couple of things, right? So right off the top of my head, probably the most endearing and the most dramatic and the most needed is getting our heroes and heroines back from deportation. So that's going to be the big push, the big direction that we're going to take. And we probably will start this in January. We built a partnership with other veterans groups, as well as a very strong Repatriate Our Patriots organization. And you can actually find them at that rop.org. They do tremendous work there. But again, our objective is to do that. We did bring back this past year a couple of veterans. Unfortunately, they were repatriated after they died. So we helped the families bring them home. And then more recently, there was a gentleman down at the El Paso border that we were able to get into VA care, working again with a consortium of organizations, the individual's attorney, Congresswoman Escobar's office. Got to give a shout out to them. So we're working very, very specifically in trying to get our deported veterans home, wherever they are in the world. But let me also say this. One of the things that I learned in this summit is, in listening to different speakers and different things that are going on, that I think that we might want to look at in terms of assisting in this area of STEM, is one of the things I did for the Air Force is I was consulting with their Air Force STEM program, but specifically looking at the diversity, equity, inclusion issue, because people look at STEM as being like the beginning of the starting line, and they don't realize there are communities out there, especially communities of color, that are looking for the starting line. So we're behind to begin with. And so one of the things we did is we reached out to the Air Force Research Laboratory, the NASA, other agencies, and other employers to engage in that effort. So there is definitely the educational component, but we need to make sure that we're bringing in partners in industry, partners in government, to help to provide those other resources at zero cost to them. I mean, it's not anything that LULAC or anyone else would have to pony up. And I give you an example. We did it from K through 12, and then work with some of the universities. So there's a model, there's a pathway to get that done. And so again, as I'm listening to everything that's happening today, I'm already thinking about how we can work and make things stronger. So just don't forget that element, that industry is a partner. We need to include them. It's not just the educational institutions that are charged with this development. So.
Thank you. So please start writing your questions in the chat. And Luis, I can't really let you out, Luis, because education is so much important at all levels. And definitely, we're going to be working together. But I would like people to know, what is that we're going to do next.
Thank you. Well, I think I started talking a little bit about this earlier, but just to add to that, besides being in a moment to kind of readdress or at least look at where are we going to go from here, taking input, I really want to try to figure out a way that we can communicate. So the platforms that we use to communicate with each other, from one person, council person at a council level to a district, to a state, to the national, to the region, to the committees. I mean, that's a real interest of mine, primarily because I work in the education space, and I've been working with community colleges here in California, but some across the country, trying to figure out how do we connect the dots between what the communities have to offer, business and other community folks and leaders. The DEI work right now is huge, and people are trying to figure out how do we work together. And just to give you a quick example, on an earlier panel, there was someone from the audience asked the question, how can, and I won't mention the name of the company because that's not that important, but national company, huge, asking the question, he asked me the question because he had trouble on the chat. So he just directed it to me. I've been trying to connect with LULAC or with any other nonprofits. They have difficulty on trying to figure out how to help. And so I think we need to figure out ways to get folks from business, from corporate, from the government to be better connected with all of our efforts. And at the same time, there's a huge need for educators to know how to work with community. I think for those educators on this call, on this Zoom, know and understand that when a business comes with an offering, let's say they come with, we have 100 computers we'd like to give you. Not one educator here can tell me they don't have to go to a committee. They don't have to go to some kind of asset liability issue question. They don't have to go through a shared governance kind of. So believe me, when community comes to the college or to a high school or to elementary school and says, we have a lot to give you, and then the person at the educator level says, okay, well, let me figure out how to get that help. This is an area that I really want to try to address with our education experts and our members of our education committee, Ana, and I need your help too to figure out what is it that we can do, because I don't think it makes sense to do any kind of goal or action that's programmatic and activity-based. I think we need to go with higher level. What is the thing that all the states have in common? And I think one of it is this connectivity on action and bringing support to schools, to teachers, to students, to families. That to me is one area that's really important. And I think the better we do that work.
Sure.
Sorry, I accidentally
okay,
hit mute. I just wanted to end with this because I just put in the chat, Bloomberg just dropped a news article about today, about this summit. And I think that we have the power to really make the attention of not just the news media, but the public pay attention to what national and local organizations like LULAC can really do for addressing issues and problems of our communities and our schools and our communities. So I just think that I'm more and more excited about the possibilities, and I'm anxious to get together with the committee, with you, Ana, and to plan out how do we get to action, how do we identify priorities, because we can't do everything, but focusing together, I think we can do it.
Yeah, I think for so long, Luis, we have been working at the level of, the activity levels, the how to, but we haven't really focused on the policy-driven, side of the education. And unless we get to that point, we will never be able to make any changes because it has to be, policy-driven. So we have two great comments. Elisa. She said, let's also focus on empowering our community through financial education at all levels. That's a great, and then we have Lisa, and she said, if we appreciate and learn from our ancestors, elders, and use of our knowledge in the present, we can ensure a stronger future for all generations. Any comments about that?
I'd like to comment. Elisa, you're so spot on, especially since what I saw during the pandemic and the funding that I worked on, not to even mention what I've experienced over the years and my lack of financial knowledge and where I was, what I had, what I lost. We need to learn from each other. And then we need to also learn, if I can add on that some cultures in the Latino community teach from the papa to the children things to help them prepare for financial stability, which is in the Mexican community, what I've seen that I just love is that a lot of them say, go buy a property. And I'm like, that's amazing. A lot of my Mexicana friends have properties. I'm like, I wish my dad would have told me to do something like that, right? Even though, thank God, my son learned it and did it himself. But what I also want to say is that Lisa's right with her comment about, our ancestors and elders. most people discount us. And I'm not saying that I'm an elder, but when they look at certain ages, they're like, oh, you're already old, or, look at that viejo talking. And
You can't be that old because you just became 15. Come on.
Yeah, I act like I'm in my 30s, but anyway. But I mean, I love Lisa's comment, because we really need to look at and sit and just listen. We don't have to go back and forth and have a dialogue too much in the beginning, but just listen. What is it that they know that we need to know and process to be able to either do better or be better as a human being, or in what we do in our business? But so many of them feel like they don't have a voice.
Yeah, I don't see any, there are great comments, and we've been responding. Thank you, Letty, for that, and thank you, Caroline. They've been responding immediately, when we have the comment. But we have just 3-4 minutes before our next session. And I would like to thank you, for this wonderful conversation this afternoon. We have a lot of work to do, for sure. And I do believe that, this the digital divide that has this pandemic caused. But I have to say, the good thing about that is that now we know that existed. It's not because we didn't know, it's because now we know that existed. And what Caroline is proposing, at the national level, computer education is really key for the development of all our communities. And definitely, Luis, just highlighting, elevating our education committee into, a more policy driven committee. I think that's the right direction to go. Leonard, thank you so much, for your passion and the work that you've been doing, with the military. My gratitude to your service. And Caroline, I can't really leave you, just by saying, really keep doing what you do, but please take a rest, some rest. Sometimes, this lady, I want you all to know, sometimes this lady is just emailing in the middle of the night, but it's because she's so passionate about what she does that I don't think that she pays attention to time. And sometimes we have to do that, right? Any salute, any word, before we leave?
If I could just add, Caroline and I were talking just offline earlier, and how much we appreciated everybody's work and support. This came together with the prayer and the hope of many, but also with great partnership with the national office. And so, if I may say, Caroline, on behalf of our committees and the work that we did to help support the summit, and the wonderful support from the national office, that the team just came through and helped us out. And so just much appreciation and thank you to all of you.
Luis, I echo that on the national office, and also as LULAC stands for local grassroots at the local level. We have amazing members from our local council 5238 in the great state of Illinois, across the state. From the Latinx Digital Leaders nonprofit, amazing members. Everyone has stepped up, and that's the way of LULAC. That's our way. Collectively, we can do more. So with that, everybody, thank you for the session. Reach us, join us, let us know how we can help, and definitely we need your help.
Before we close out, I'd also love to thank Roman and President Domingo and all of them, because we've driven them crazy for support. I just want to say thank you. Because,
and William Moreno, we have included, right, and David, right. All of us, thank you so much for this exciting conversation this afternoon. We hope to see LULAC, growing. And I think it's going to start growing faster now, than before. And we're ready for you guys, right? So,
I would like to add something here.
Okay, please.
I would like to add something real quickly. I just want to also recognize and acknowledge and thank Heartland Forward for their partnership in this space and everything that they're doing, as well as all of the individuals who invested their time in the summit today and up to this point. For investing that time. We know your time is important. It's very precious. It's priceless, in fact. So the fact that you've joined us here today, I want to thank all the participants.
Luis, Leonard, thank you for sending up Heartland Forward. It's a partnership that started grassroots in Illinois with our council and got elevated to national. And this summit highlighted the partnership at the national level. We're getting a lot of news recognition, media recognition, and there's going to be more to come because of the partnership. There will be to support councils that will have our council mentor other councils, vice versa. So we definitely are about partnerships and value them and I very much appreciate them as well. So with that,
We forgot one more, Pablo Martinez.
and Pablo, who's been amazing. Yes, yes. So
So,
thank you for that. Have a wonderful afternoon and see you in the next session, I hope. And
yeah,
the follow one where we can have a networking, building social capital with each other.
yes, please don't miss that one, because in that is going to be more relaxing conversation that we're going to have. So thank you, friends. Thank you, amigos, for this wonderful afternoon and to 1 hour. Actually, went so fast. Thank you. Okay,
Not
bye-bye.
goodbye, pero hasta luego.
Hasta luego, exacto.
Hey.
Hasta otro día.
Exacto.